I was having the best year of my life career-wise, and I was just having like panic attacks and having full-on like meltdowns because it was just so, it was just a lot.
You become one of the top Victoria's Secrets angels for most of your 20s. You're
Yeah.
in one of the most in-demand runway and campaign models. And we all see that success, but we don't necessarily see the no's and the setbacks that come along that journey too. Is there a failure or a negative time in your career that you look back on it now and it's actually really empowered you and made you into the person you are today?
In the beginning of my career, when I first started going to Paris and London, I was always being, I'm not super tall compared to most models. So I was just very put in the box of like, you'll probably never do runways, you'll probably never be on the cover of Vogue and all of these. And I think that really just gave me more. I'm like, oh, wait, you're telling me I can't do something? So I want to do it more.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was, I think it gave me that, just that passion to really go after because I wanted to be the best. I'm very, very competitive for sure. And so I'm like, oh, if I'm going to do this, I want to be the best that I can at it.
Yeah.
It's such an up and down career. You start, sometimes you have like incredible 6 months and then no one book you for like 6 months and you're like, oh my God. And then something happened and all of a sudden you're working nonstop again. So it's a very crazy industry to be in because you're only as good as your last job. I look back to, I was doing incredible things and had incredible opportunities. And I look back and I was like, I was miserable for most of it because there was that anxiety of like, okay, what comes next? Or is this going to end? Or, but I still haven't gotten this. And I had a lot of that mindset, which was just very negative and you just can't live in that. And a part of what I realized was like, okay, what does Sara love? Because since I was 18 or 16, I had gone just from job to job doing what, I couldn't really have hobbies. Every time that I had a time off, all I wanted to do is watch TV because I was just so exhausted. Sometimes I would be in like 3 or 4 different countries in a week. So I would just go whatever people would tell me to go, and I was like, okay, what do I like? And people would always, even to this day, people are like, so what are your hobbies? And I'm like, oh,
I don't know.
I don't know. And to me, it was realizing that modeling was never the dream, acting was. And I think I was putting too much energy into something that was not what I felt like I was meant to be doing.
It's very confronting, right?
Yeah.
When you have that moment, you step back and you think, oh, I'm living a life that isn't actually the life I really want to lead in a way.
Yeah. And it was kind of crazy because, like, I would be in photo shoots and I'm like, why am I so miserable? Why do I hate being here? And then it makes me feel like I'm ungrateful and it just goes like a spiral in my own head. And then I was like, no, because maybe you're supposed to be doing something else. And that's kind of when I took a step back. I moved to LA, start taking a lot of acting classes. And I remember, some of my first acting classes, like the joy that I felt just doing a scene with other people. And I was like, okay, this feels right. This feels like it's what I'm supposed to be doing. But at the same time, I was kind of scared. It's scary because you're just about to almost start over again in a way. Not really start over, but because I'm if modeling has given me something has been the stability and financial stability for me to actually be able to be like, okay, I'm not going to work as much, and I'm really going to focus on this dream of mine. Um, but yeah, it was I think really tapping into like what is the thing that actually brings me joy.
Did therapy help you on that journey? And what was maybe a lesson you learned from therapy that really has really stuck with you and really shaped you as a person going forward?
I'm doing still a lot of this kind of work in therapy, but I think it's really is the, focusing on what you have and not on what you don't have. And also, not everything you think is true.
Yes.
That has been a big one.
Yeah, that's a light bulb moment.
Yeah, and it's easier said than done. I have a lot of like obsessive thoughts, but it's sometimes it's hard to put a stop to it and not believe every stupid thing you think. But but yeah, thinking that and has been the most like, oh. And and I also, like, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and for me that was also like, oh my god, like my life finally makes sense. And a lot of the things I'm like, okay, there's nothing wrong with me, this is just the way my brain works. And you just gotta have to learn how to, how to deal with it.
And that's such a good thing to talk about as well, because whenever I've spoken to my friends who are female and they have ADHD, there's not enough people talking about it because it's seen as such a, like a naughty boys syndrome in a way, in so many ways. And actually, it takes women so much longer in life to get those diagnoses because it doesn't show up in the same way. So was
Yeah.
that a real light bulb moment for you where you were like, oh, wow, this is it. Like this is so I'm so thankful for this label in a way.
Oh yeah, 100%. It doesn't excuse a lot of the things, but it just makes you understand why certain things are harder for you, or you do certain things. And like you said, women tend to not be diagnosed too late in life until they have like full on meltdowns because they're so overwhelmed. They go into this freeze mode, which is what happened with me. And, like, and I don't have the hyperactive one. I have the one, the inattentive one, where I just have a hard time to focus, and I can only focus if the urgency kicks in. So that's why I would leave everything to the last minute, and I could do a words of work in a day, in an hour, like. And I've always had really good grades in school because but I would always study the night before, and I had a really hard time sitting down to study. And um but because I was pretty smart, and I would like sometimes, and I would, as long as I would understand something, it would kind of get stay in my mind. You would never think I have any ADHD because my grades were always like pretty good. But yeah, it really became that where I just couldn't really manage everything. It was just, I was just like in this state of freeze where I just couldn't I couldn't do anything. It's like, it was just like I had a lot of procrastination, and it was really, really hard for me to get out of it. And like, and then you start thinking, oh, am I lazy? Like, why can't I just, and I'm also a highly sensitive person. So yeah, there's like a lot of things that I really like figure out about myself just being in therapy, that I was just like, oh, this explains a lot. And obviously you don't use them as excuses, but you start creating tools to help you, you know, live in a world that it's not made for your kind of brain.
It's so true because the world isn't made for neurodiverse brains. And we need to be showing up for each other in conversations and in the world and in workplaces to make sure everyone can thrive.
Yeah.
Superman. I mean, babe, there's jobs and then there's jobs, right? Where were you at in life when this role came along and found you?
I know it's kind of surreal. I think so. I was actually in Portugal when I got sent the self tape, and I was working, and I was like, oh my God, like I don't have time to do this. But then obviously it was, I knew it was for Superman, and I was like, oh, I love the character. I know exactly what I want to do with her, but there's no way they're gonna book me, and I'm so busy. But I'm like, okay, I'll find like a little time to work on it and then tape it, and I send it. I didn't really hear anything for like 2-3 weeks, and then my managers call me and they were like, oh, they want to see you in person, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. And I went in, and I was really nervous because I kind of started auditioning when things kind of went, because of the pandemic, like everything went to like Zooms and self tapes. So I didn't have a lot of experience to audition in a room, so I was like really nervous. But I got there, and the character is a little bit extra, so I kind of used that anxious feeling because it just fit the character. And I got in. I thought I did a really good job. It's funny because I got out of the room and I saw someone like with way more experience than me, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, that was nice. There's no way I'm gonna get it. She's gonna get it. But at the same time, I was like, I do still feel like I might get it. It was weird. It was just like I really felt like a connection. I really loved the character, and I just knew like right away what I would want to do with her. And then yeah, I found out that I got it. It's been like the most insane, the most beautiful, and it's just been everything I've ever wished for. It's just really been um, yeah, I'm just so grateful for that James saw something in me and trust me with Eve, and I really hope people like it. But yeah, it's just yeah.
I think people are gonna love it, and you are like, Eve is such an interesting character in so
Yes.
many ways. But plot spoiler, this is coming out just after the movies come out. So if anyone's listening to this right now and they haven't seen Superman, close your ears for 2.2 seconds
Exactly.
because Eve is underestimated,
Oh
isn't she,
yeah.
babes? Oh yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
throughout the whole movie, they think she's just taking selfies with her hot boyfriend,
Exactly.
don't they? But
Yeah.
actually, she is
She kind of
actually the
saves the
one.
day.
She saves the day. She's the plot twist, babe.
I
So
know.
where were you? When did you find out that this plot twist was going to happen? And were you like, oh my god, get in, this is great?
I didn't really have the script when we did the audition, so I was just like, oh, I don't really know much what's happening yet, but kind of. So I kind of already knew, but I didn't know exactly how big of a twist. So when I read the script, I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. This is cool. This is very important to the plot, and I was just very excited. Yeah.
I mean, it's a mega moment, and I think everyone's gonna be like, "Oh my God, no way!" Because it's also such a great thing because she is so underestimated, and I think that everyone can resonate with the idea of feeling underestimated at different times in their lives.
Yeah.
When do you feel like you felt underestimated, and when have you been so satisfied with proving people wrong?
Oh, I mean, like my whole modeling career, but I think like the first time that I was on the cover of Vogue, after I've been told that, you'll never do Vogue, you'll never do Numero, and I've done both magazines, or like you'll never walk fashion shows. And then, I remember walking Miu Miu and be like, well, watch me now. So I think I feel like my whole modeling career was just the whole time just proving people wrong.
Hmm.
But yeah, but I still feel like, being a model coming into acting, I'm definitely, you know, people will be like, oh, okay, another model trying to act. So hopefully I'll prove people wrong here.
Is there a moment you wish you trusted your gut more?
Yes. Yeah. I definitely stayed in a relationship for way too long that I should have. And everything in my body and my mind was telling me to leave, but I didn't for a while. So I wish I had gotten out of that sooner. Um, yeah. think that's probably my biggest. I wouldn't say regret because it has made me in a way who I am today, but I wish I should have left way sooner.
Oh, babe, I'm literally thinking back now to multiple times when I wish I'd left sooner and I stayed.
I know.
We've all been there.